Hello. Welcome back to Life After Plus One. I'm Leanne, your podcast host and your single parent mentor and coach. And welcome to everyone. Welcome to anyone that's new here, that's just jumped on board and discovered Life After Plus One. Welcome. Thank you. Hello. And for those of you that don't know, there's a whole lot of resources available here at Life After Plus One. Obviously, we have the weekly podcast where I try and unpack every relatable topic that is linked to single parenting. Plus, I've also got blog posts, which I upload multiple times a week. I have an e-newsletter. I have all my social media platforms. I have ebooks, which are great and cover every topic from dating, single parenting, from looking after you and prioritizing you. What are the other ones? And there's also another one on my top 100 tips for single parents. So I cover everything. Oh, and my one-on-one coaching, if I did not mention that already. So then there's one-on-one coaching, which is tailored to you, which is more specific support to keep you on track through your breakup. Because it's one thing to think, I'll be fine and follow all the reels and the content and do everything. But when you've got someone in your corner backing you and helping you through everything and helping you work through those emotions, that's what actually helps you let go and to get through it all. And the coaching is all tailored to you, specific to what you're going through. We nut out exactly where you're at, what your biggest issues are, your triggers, your emotions and everything that comes with that. There's also one that's dedicated to anyone that's going through the mediation process, where we can unpack that whole process so you're in the right headspace. You're mentally and emotionally prepared for when you do start going through mediation. And then there's also just a Q&A session. If you don't want to have a full coaching session, if you're not doing mediation, but you just need a little support without the biased and judgy opinions from social media and the people venting their breakup hate, there's a little Q&A chat which can be done by email or it can be done face-to-face via Zoom. And those are some of the options that I have there for my coaching, and you can find all of those in the link down below in the show notes. All those details are there. So there is so much support to help you through your journey of going through a breakup as a single parent and for the years after that as well. It's not just through the breakup, it's for everything after that. The co-parenting, the dating, the blending families, every part of your journey as a single parent, I aim to cover it. And on that note, I'm going to touch on a subject which is probably something that all of you have dealt with at some point, and that's your ex. And when they constantly keep shitting on you, you think you're doing fine, you think you're doing good, and all of a sudden they've just gone and dropped a grenade and they've left you to pick up all the pieces. And you're feeling like you're back at square one again because you just thought everything was okay. Then all of a sudden they've come by and just done this. They've just shitted on you and you're like, what the hell? I'm going to unpack that today. Let's talk about getting pushed back 20 steps and you're getting pushed back to the starting point again. You feel like you're making progress and all of a sudden they've popped their head up with some shitty thing that they've done, which has just ruined your day. Let's talk about it. Welcome to the Life After Plus One podcast, where we turn life's lemons into delightful lemonade. Get ready for inspiring stories, uplifting conversations, and all the tips and tricks to rock your single parent journey with style. I'm your host, Leanne, and it's time to embrace the adventure of Life After Plus One. So, let's dive in. Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit honest here. I wasn't sure if I was going to say this, but I thought I'd talk about this because it does relate to something that I've just recently gone through. And I am cautious with talking a little bit about what I do. Well, not so much what I do, about my personal life with my co-parenting arrangement. Not so much as a way to protect him, as a way to protect my daughter. That's why. I just want to censor it a little bit because I just don't want her to get too involved. Not that she listens to the show, but I just feel like some ways I do censor it a little bit just in case she ever does catch wind of certain things that I do say on here. So in saying that, I've come through a little incident where I think I may have mentioned it. Well, actually, I don't think I did. I know I did last year. In a podcast episode, I spoke about some struggles that I had with my co-parent, and he refused to be on board with paying my daughter's school fees and supporting her through her high school journey. So she's just recently started high school, and all the paperwork is done by me. So according to the school, I'm the sole parent because he's not on any paperwork. And since then, however, things have changed over Christmas and everything. Everything was smooth. Everything was okay. So I thought, okay, this is great. Maybe we're getting back on track. Maybe he's starting to help out. Maybe he's starting to step up and he's wanting to be more involved. And he's taking my daughter away on a holiday again soon, which is for his benefit because he's getting dental treatment done overseas because it's much cheaper. And then come school fees time, I get these emails and I'm just following up to see if it's still just me or if he's on board. And they're like, no, he's not on board. It's just you. You need to sort this out. So I then sent him a message saying, I need you to contribute. I need you to help out with this. It can't just be just on me. And his response was, I bought her a laptop. It's on you. You can do that. So he bought the laptop for school. However, let's put a little side note to that. He didn't actually just buy it for school. That was his Christmas present. And we won't talk about all the expenses that you need to outlay when going into high school. School shoes, sports shoes, school uniform. The uniform alone was over $500, probably close to $600, plus all the shoes, plus everything else that you have. And she has a phone. She has one of the latest iPhones that I pay for. I bought it. I've paid for it. And I've never ever once complained because that was something I did. But I found it extremely, I don't know the word to use, when he came back at me and tried to use the laptop as his parenting done. I bought her a laptop, done. My parenting duties are done. He didn't say that, but that was how it came across. And it's a real kick in the guts when you feel like you're making progress with your co-parent. You feel like everything's good and you're actually cooperating. You're doing what you can to make everything happy and nice for your daughter, for your kids. And then all of a sudden they drop this grenade. And it just makes you question, are you actually in this for your daughter? Or for others that are listening, for your kids, or you just in this for you? Because saying you bought a laptop, which you bought for Christmas, doesn't cut it as parenting duties. And I don't want to make this episode just about me, but it was a real kick in the guts when I've spent more than that on her getting back to school, plus her everyday expenses, her living expenses, and everything else is all on me. So that was a real kick in the guts and it really shook me and it took me by surprise. And I probably shouldn't. I probably really caught myself off guard because one thing I quite often say in my sessions when you're dealing with a narcissist, and it's something I never ever go by in life itself, but when you're dealing with a narcissist, I always say, plan for worst case scenario. And I caught myself off guard. And when you're an empath, when you're kind-hearted, when you're very, you like to see the best in situations, you focus on the good in people. You think, okay, everything's working, everything's going nice, we're cooperating, there's no issues, there's no drama. And then you give them not so much give them, but you make it work. You're doing things nicely. They're asking you for extra time. No issues at all. You make it work because that's what your daughter wants. Next minute, they drop this grenade. It's like, hold on a second. Is this all just about trying to butter me up so you could get what you wanted? Is that all you're doing here? Is this all just for you, not for your daughter? And it really just made me think, and it made me angry, not so much at the fact that I have to now pay all those school fees, but more so the fact that I feel like he took the piss out of me. I feel like he really took advantage of me. And I've been used to that for so long. Because that's what it's like to co-parent with a narcissist. They'll take advantage of you and they'll do what they can to get their way. However, this time it just seemed different. It just seemed he's on board. It seemed like he wasn't fighting back. It seemed like, not fighting back. He wasn't creating drama like he used to. Maybe he's just got sneakier in his tactics. I don't know. But that really stung because it made me think, you just took advantage of me. And this is what I want to talk about today, when it feels like that's just happened, when your ex is taking advantage of you, when they're taking the piss out of you and you're here doing everything you can for your kids, and the next minute they're shitting on you just to make life convenient for themselves. And it's very easy when that happens, when these situations happen, when you feel like, okay, everything's going good, and you give them the benefit of the doubt, and the next minute, boom, they've shitted on you. And it happens a lot, especially like I just said, when you're dealing with narcissists. They will do that. They'll find your soft spot and they'll take advantage of that. And it's really hard when you get to a place where you just think, okay, everything's going nice. And because you don't feel like it's not normal behavior to go through life where you've constantly got to be guarded. It's not normal behavior where you cannot show emotion. You cannot just be a normal person. But when you're co-parenting with a narcissist, you kind of have to be. And that's what I always was doing. However, leading up to these last few months, it was very different. And this whole process, when I just got this message to say, no, it's all on you, you sort it out. I bought her laptop. I'm just like, are you taking the piss? You bought her a laptop for Christmas and that's your parenting done for the year. Not okay. And it just was a big wake-up call to not let your guard down. And I did let my guard down. And that's the thing when you see the good in people, when you focus on the good. And it's a hard pill to swallow because that's what you do. You go through life and when you're dealing with people, you want to focus on the good in them. And especially when you are more of an empathic person, you don't sit there and just focus on the negative. Oh no, they're this. Oh no, I can't do that. You give everyone the benefit of the doubt. So when they use that against you, it's a very different story, and it's very hurtful, and it's extremely self-centered on their end. Now, I'm not going to lie, I have seen this behavior many, many times before. But as I just said, we'd got to a good place. It was fine. He started to behave very different. And it was like a light switch turned on. It was like, okay, I get it. This is what I should be doing. I see her point of view. We even had a chat and he even spoke to me. He said, okay, I understand your point of view. I understand where you're coming from. I get it. I'm sorry if I misunderstood. We even had that chat. So I'm like, okay, perfect. He's finally got it. He's finally had his little wake up moment. But after hearing this, I don't think he did. I don't think he did. It was all just used to kind of get me sucked in so he can chew me up and spit me back out again. And I know a lot of you that are listening to this that are dealing with a very toxic ex and that are dealing with a narcissistic ex. This is a very common behavior where they'll do that. They'll suck you in. They'll know your sweet spot. They'll know that place where you can just go, oh, okay, I'll do that for you. They'll know how to get what they want out of you. And then when it suits them, boom, they drop that grenade. And it's not nice. It is a horrible, horrible feeling. So this is really where you need to put into place parallel parenting, which is where you stay in your lane and they stay in their lane. There's no expectations. So that response that I got, it did sting. It did sting. Like I said, it stung more so because of the fact that I felt like I was taken advantage of. And the fact that he used my kindness against me. And this is what narcissists will do. They will use your kindness against you. So what I want to make clear today is when you are co-parenting with someone like this and you think, oh, wow, they've finally changed. They've finally got it. Always keep your guard up. If they've been a toxic co-parent, if they've always, or they've been quite nasty, they were someone that villainized you, they gaslit you, they manipulated you, they're not just going to miraculously change overnight. If you start seeing another side to them, which is great, but the thing is, that side that you're seeing is not a side that it's a fixed side of them. It's not a changed side of them, especially if they haven't done any therapy or if they haven't done anything to really work on their behavior. If they've just all of a sudden showing up as a different person and they haven't done any work, they haven't done anything, then I'm telling you now, they're not a healed person. They're not a changed person. They're a person that's trying to get what they want out of you. They're a person that's trying to manipulate you. And even someone like myself who knows these things, even someone like myself that coaches people through these situations, it's easy to still get sucked in because, like I said, you want to see the good in people. You want to see everything work out well for your kids. Okay, yes, they're finally stepping up for the kids. They're finally doing this. Yes. Okay, let's cooperate. Let's go back to square one. Let's start again. Let's make it nice and fresh. And then they shit on you. And it's a really hard pill to swallow. And it makes you feel like you've been let down. It makes you feel like you've failed or you've been sucked in. And the thing is, when they do that, it doesn't change anything on their end. They're fine. They're not bothered. They're still living their normal world, doing what they do. They're not bothered by how it affects you. They're not bothered by what it's done to you, how it's now making you feel, the extra work or anything like that on your end. They're not fazed by that. The only person it is affected is you. So if you're letting your narcissistic ex back in, you've let your guard down, and then all of a sudden they've dropped that grenade on you, it is you who's going to have to pick up all the pieces. It is you that's going to have to deal with everything. And the thing is, no matter how you respond to them in that moment, no matter what you say, they are still not going to cooperate. And I could have come up with the nicest message. I could have come up with anything at all to say back to him. And I knew as soon as I read that message, this is going to go nowhere. I just said, okay, I see you. Noted. That's it. Done. And I've just left it as a mental note. So I now know going forward not to let my guard down, not to let someone in like that has shown endless times that they're going to keep shitting on me, that they've shown endless times that they're going to keep manipulating me and gaslighting me. And this goes for you too. This isn't just a show about me. This is a show about anyone who gets in this situation because, as I said, it is very, very easy to think, oh, okay, wow, they've changed. Oh, okay, wow, they're actually stepping up for the kids because that's what you want. That is what everyone wants from their co-parent, to actually step up for your kids. And when you actually see them making an effort and you actually see something or they say that they're doing something, you're like, oh, wow, you are finally doing what I've wanted. You are finally stepping up for the kids. But the thing is, as I just touched on, if they haven't done anything different, if they haven't done any healing, if they haven't done anything in themselves to change who they are, then there's nothing about them that's changing. They're just using their little techniques, or their little tactics, I should say, to get what they want from you. And it's a really hard way to go through life where you've got to always be prepared for the worst case scenario. But when you are dealing with a toxic co-parent, when you are dealing with a narcissistic co-parent, sadly you do. Because if you don't, you're the one that's going to get hurt. And when you let your guard down, they know when to come in and take what they need. They know how to play at your heartstrings. They know how to get you emotionally and mentally where they need you and how to get what they want from you. And in these moments when it does happen, and like I said, I didn't fight back with him then. There was no need for me because I know fighting back would not have achieved anything. But this is the thing. A lot of people, when they are in that situation, they do fight back. But you said this. You promised this. You promised me you would help out. You promised you'd show up. You promised you'd be more involved with the kids. You promised this. You promised that. Fighting back with a narcissist is just going to see you heartbroken. It's going to see you devastated. You're just going to end up empty again and sad and let down and even more angry. So when you do get put in that situation like that, just take it on board. And even though your first instinct is to want to tell them how it's made you feel, your first instinct is to want to shut them down, is to want to yell at them, is to want to get angry at them and say, but you promised this. You said you would help out. You said you'd do this. And even though with my situation, yes, last year he said he's not getting on board with high school. He's not paying for school fees. He's not doing that. And then all of a sudden things changed. It was like a whole new side of him. I'm like, what's happening? And as I just touched on earlier, we did have a chat. We sat down, we had a one-on-one chat. And he even said to me, I actually get it now. I understand where you're coming from. I now get your point of view. So I was wrong to presume that he was going to step up. I was wrong to presume that he was going to be more present and more available. But for him to do that and be like, no, I'm not doing that. That's all on you. It's like we went back to square one again. It's like, are you kidding me right now? Everything that we've discussed, and in that conversation where he said to me, okay, I finally get you. Everything was about, you just need to put our daughter first. That's it. That's all I care about. Don't care what you say about me. I don't care what you think about me. I don't care anything at all about what your opinions are towards me or what I do. All I care is that you put our daughter first. End of story. And in that moment, it was like, he got it. Okay, yep, that's fine. I understand where you're coming from. I didn't see it that way. I may have misunderstood some messages. Now I get it. And that's exactly what he said. So I'm like, great, we're making progress. And ever since that chat, everything was positive. Everything was cooperative. Everything was great. There was no issues. He was asking for extra time with my daughter. No problem. That's fine. She wants to go. That's fine. I have no issues. But then to drop this bomb, confirming that he's definitely not going to be involved in any of her high school. He's not on any of the enrollment forms and he's not paying for school fees. He said, no, you can sort it out. I'm not doing it. That's when it all just clicked. Okay, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. I got sucked in good. And this is the point in this episode that I really want you to address, or not so much address, sorry. This is what I really want you to be aware of when you are in this situation, when you do feel like, oh, I'm actually seeing a light at the end of the tunnel here. They're actually getting me. Never let your guard down with someone who you have known to be a very toxic co-parent. Never let your guard down. And like I said, it is very easy to, in that moment, get very defensive, get on the attack, get angry. But for me personally, in that moment, I knew there was no point. I messaged back and said, okay, I see you. Noted. And I just left it. Just left it at that. There was nothing more to say. There was nothing more. There was no point proving necessary. There was nothing even worth saying, but I've done this. I've spent way more than that on her school uniform and her phone and everything else. We shared primary school fees, but now all of a sudden there's no point. And this is what I want you to understand. When you're co-parenting with someone who is very toxic, they know how to get at you emotionally. They know how to get what they want from you. So going forward, when you are going through a situation with your co-parent and they're all of a sudden acting like the sweetest person in the world, and they're all of a sudden acting like they can give you all this stuff that you'll be wanting. They're all of a sudden acting like they're going to step up and cooperate. What I want you to think about in that moment is, are they really? Is anything really changing? Have they really changed, or are they just saying these things? Because this is another thing I say all the time in my podcasts, and even caught myself out. Actions speak louder than words. Actions speak louder than words. So do not get sucked into words because they're saying the right things to you, and you just think, oh, okay, this must be all different. This must have changed. So it's really important when you're in these situations to stick to your guns. Be firm. And now I'm not saying don't cooperate. I'm not saying be an asshole to them all the time. I am saying that if you've known them to be quite toxic, if you've known them to always be very manipulative and do what they can to get their way, and all of a sudden they're showing you little signs that maybe they are cooperating, I want you to really think about it and don't drop your guard. Be very clear about what's happening and make sure when you're giving in that nothing is happening where it's going to impact you. It's the fact that he used that against me. He tried to pull me in. He tried to act like everything was great. And all of a sudden when it comes to school fees time, and I send him the message, oh no, I'm not paying for them. That's all on you. You can sort that out. I'm like, oh, I thought everything was fine. I thought we had worked everything out. So this is what I want to get at here, is that don't drop your guard ever when it comes to someone like this. Don't be so easy to let them in. And I didn't think I was. And I know how to be pretty firm. This is what I do. I know how to stand my ground. I know how to say, nope, not happening, sorry. But when you're in this moment, when you're co-parenting, the thing is, everything about co-parenting is about our kids. And all we ever want is for our kids to have a happy, amicable co-parenting relationship, for our kids to see us get along with the other parent, for our kids to be happy. Because when you're fighting with the other parent, the kids see that. They don't want to get caught up in the middle of that, and that's not fair on them. So when there's an opportunity to finally make things work, when there's an opportunity to finally be able to get along, you take advantage of that. You make the most of that opportunity to find a way to make it work. However, just be cautious when you're in that situation. Be guarded. And it's a really hard situation because it's very much when you're dealing with a narcissist, it's the opposite of everything I would tell you when moving forward, and especially when going into a new relationship. When going to a new relationship, I say let your guard down, be open, learn to trust someone. But when you're dealing with a narcissist, you've got to have your guard up. When you're going into the dating world, I'd always say, be glass half full, find the positives, find what's good in the situation. But when you're dealing with a narcissist, it's again the complete opposite. You've got to prepare for worst case scenario. You've got to be always on the back foot. You've got to be prepared for what negative or what bad might come. Because when you are, then you're not let down. Because normally in a situation, and normally what I would have previously done was when I was expecting something from him, and this is just it, and this is what I always say, never have any expectations of your ex. And when I was ever in a situation where that ever came up, I always prepared for, okay, so if he doesn't cooperate, if he doesn't do this, I'm fine. I can manage this way, or I can do that. That's not a problem. So that's always what I did. I was always prepared. So if he didn't cooperate, if something fell through where it didn't work, I was always fine because I'd prepared for plan B, which was him not cooperating. This time I didn't. This time I got caught off guard. I let my guard down. Thought, okay, he's coming on board. He's finally actually helping out. So when you are in this situation where your ex is asking something from you and you're not sure if you should give in or not, well, not so much give in, you're not too sure how you should manage the situation, I want you to ask yourself this and always be prepared for this. If it doesn't go to plan, are you able to manage? Will you be okay? And that's the biggest thing you always need to remember when you are co-parenting with a narcissist. And I'm just going to say this right now. I do hate using that word because it is so overused on social media these days. And I see so many people using it and I just cringe and I just think you need to please research the meaning of that word narcissist. And quite often people just use it in a way because someone has a difference of an opinion or they disagree or something's happened. Like, oh, you're a narcissist. No, that's not what narcissism is. Narcissism is a whole bunch of traits that they're doing that makes up narcissistic personality disorder. It's not just someone having a difference of an opinion. So I do hate using that word, but I have used it a bit in this episode because I do know that this is exactly what this person is. I do know who I'm dealing with. So when you are dealing with that or someone who you believe is, just please be aware or please be cautious. That is definitely what that is. And when you are in a situation where you feel like they are starting to cooperate or you're like, wow, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, something good is actually happening. Instead of just so quickly giving in or so quickly just agreeing to them, give yourself some time to step back and ask yourself, if this doesn't go to plan, or if they all of a sudden pull out, or if they all of a sudden don't cooperate with this and it's now left on me, am I going to be okay? Am I going to manage? And that's the thing you need to plan when you're co-parenting with someone like this, when you're co-parenting with a high conflict, toxic ex. If they all of a sudden choose to not cooperate, if they all of a sudden change plans, if they all of a sudden don't agree or whatever it is that they're doing, are you going to be okay? And this is the thing. You always need to have a plan B. And most importantly, be prepared for worst case scenario, which is what I just said. If it does fall through, are you going to be okay? Now, I did plan, if he did pull out of this, will I be okay? I will make it work. The thing is, however, I was in this situation prepared for worst case scenario because I was thinking, okay, so if something happens, this is all going to be on me. This is all under my name. So if he doesn't help out, because all the paperwork is under my name, it's all going to be on me. So I was aware of that. I didn't get myself stuck in any shitty situation that I wasn't aware that could possibly happen. So I was prepared for the worst case scenario. However, I think I did let my guard down a little too much, and I was more so disappointed that he took advantage of that kindness, thinking that he was going to cooperate when he wasn't. And all this time in these months prior, where he's been asking favors of me and asking me to help him out things, and I'm thinking, okay, this is great. That's fine. You'll come to the party with this. I'm happy to help you out. No dramas. And then all of a sudden, no, he hasn't. He hasn't helped out. He hasn't come to the party. So it's not so much just planning for worst case scenario. It's also about focusing on, don't give in to them to the point where they're taking advantage of that. And like I said, I didn't think that was the case. And I didn't feel like he was taking advantage of that. I just thought this is what a normal co-parenting relationship is. You help each other out. Until boom, he showed he didn't want to help out. I'm like, okay, this has always just been one-sided. I see. I get it now. Got you. Noted. Now, I will also just quickly point out before I wrap up, not all co-parents are like that. Not all co-parents you have to plan worst case scenario for. Not all co-parents are quite toxic. When you are dealing with a high conflict one, then yes, 100% do this. So if you're dealing with an ex that is constantly shitting on you, then those are the things you need to focus on. 1, plan for worst case scenario. So if they let you down, are you going to be okay? 2, don't let your guard down. Don't give in to them to the point where you're giving so much where they're not returning, where it ends up feeling like it's one-sided. And then you feel like you've been let down. And 3, stay guarded. Keep your guard up. If you've known them to be someone that's constantly going to let you down, that's constantly never stepped up the way that you wanted them to, they're not just magically going to change. Stay guarded. Be open to cooperating. Be open to having things be amicable, but don't open yourself up too much to the point where they're going to take advantage of your kindness. So I didn't really want to make this episode about that topic, but it just happened all of a sudden. And I thought, okay, this is something good to share with everyone because it is something that a lot of people do go through. You get in a situation with your co-parent where they take advantage of you, where they try and manipulate you, where they try and squeeze things out of you, where deep down you're thinking, no, I don't want to do this, but then they make you feel like you should, or they make you feel like this is what has to be done. And then all of a sudden you do it and you're like, oh shit, okay, I just got taken advantage of. So just keep in mind these tips when you're dealing with an ex that does like to take advantage of you. And most importantly, keep in mind how you react. Because if you let it affect you too much emotionally, like I said, it's not affecting them, it's affecting you. Don't take on their emotions. Take it on board. Okay, don't like it. You're an asshole. I see you. Letting it go. I'll sort it out on my end. Because if more you feed into that anger, the more you feed into, okay, you just took advantage of me. You're an asshole. I'm pissed off. And if you all of a sudden just tell them that, you rip into them, you get angry, you are not going to achieve anything. It's going to result in nothing. If anything, you're just going to create more conflict, more drama. It's going to escalate, and it's probably just going to get into a messy co-parenting battle, which doesn't just stop after that message or phone call or texting or whatever it is. It'll keep going because you're then going to hold on to that grudge. Don't hold on to it. That's a them problem, not a you problem. Just note it on board and don't let them in. Don't let them into your space like that again. Keep yourself guarded from them. All right. So I hope you all got something valuable from this episode. And like I said, I didn't really want to make it too much about me, but because it's something that just happened, I thought it would be something great to share, to kind of show everyone that even though you do know how to co-parent, even though you do know how to handle these situations, you do know how to avoid the toxicity, things can still come up. No matter how much of a clear headspace you are in, no matter how good you feel, or no matter how happy you are in your life and where you're at, there's still things that can happen that can push you back. Not everything is always going to be uphill. You're going to have your really good days. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with an ex that doesn't always like to cooperate with you, you're going to have days where they're going to push you backwards again. The thing is, when you have those days, that you don't allow those times to keep pushing you off track and keep pushing you back. You have it, you take it on board. Okay, don't like it. I'm staying on track. I'm going to keep going forward. So don't let those shitty days and those shitty moments and those shitty things that are happening from your ex, don't let them push you back. Because like I said, that's a reflection of them, not you. Stay guarded. Don't let them in. Please feel free to share if you got anything valuable from this. And if you do use these tips, or maybe you don't, maybe you're in this situation quite often. You're like, oh, I just don't know what to do. And these tips you found quite useful. Let me know. Let me know what you thought. I'd love to hear everyone's feedback. You can send me a DM on social media or comment on Spotify or on Apple, wherever you're listening, YouTube. Let me know your thoughts on the episode. I love to hear where everyone's at and what they've taken away from the episode. So thanks again, everyone. And until next week, I'll be in your ears then. Thank you for joining us on the Life After Plus One podcast. If you loved what you heard today and looking for some further support, then jump onto our website, lifeafterplusone.com. Plus, don't forget to check out our Instagram page for further resources and inspo. You can find all the links in the show notes. And remember, you're not alone on this path. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. And in the meantime, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep exploring your amazing life after plus one.